Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. My name's Chet and I'm your host. Today, well, it was going to be me, Gabe Leonard, and Christopher Ulrich. We were going to discuss the LA art show that we went to together, but Christopher overslept, and I talked to him right after we finished. Gabe and I finished, and he took a nap and didn't wake up in time. So next time we'll have him on. We'll have him on another time with me, maybe me and him and Gabe. But anyway, Gabe and I ended up talking about the LA art show and a lot of other good art stuff. Actually, it was not as much the LA art show as I had intended, but yeah, well, you know how this show goes. We just talk about stuff, and but it was good conversation. Good, a lot of technical art stuff and just good stuff. Good stuff. It was very enjoyable. Let's see what's new. Yeah, that's what's been new with me. I went to the LA art show. I made 2 paintings, the Blood Rose paintings. Both of those sold, which is great. Very excited about that. I've got these guys in the back, these little 3. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the 3-inch minis. This one sold, but these ones are available. So I'm going to have to do another one of my stupid talking head videos to try and get some traction on that, to try and sell these babies. That's about it. Just working on commissions, making a real dent on my commissions. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. I mentioned in the podcast, one of them is like 9 years old. It's bad. And I'm going to finally get these done this year for sure. I'm getting them done. I've got new commissions waiting that I will not take money for yet because I have to get these other ones done. I have to get these other ones done. So, I'm really working on those, focusing on those. So if you want to check them out, I post my progress every day I paint. I post my progress on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/ChetZar, and you could join for just $1. It's cheap. It's got a lot of good stuff on there, and there's different tiers for all kinds of other different stuff. If you want to support the podcast, this podcast is listener supported. And you can join the Patreon there, which is patreon.com/darkartsociety. You could also join for as little as $1. You get the podcast a day early and, show your support, make it so I can afford to do it. I've said many times at this point, it's been like 6 years. I've been doing this a long time and I barely make enough to make it worth the time to do it. But the main reason I do it is because I know the small audience we have, loves it. I hear stuff all the time. People really love the podcast and I want to keep doing it. So any little financial support would be greatly appreciated so I could keep doing this thing. I enjoy doing it. My time is valuable. So I have to make money because this is my, I don't have a day job now. I'm a full-time artist for a long time now. And so, you know how that is. Skull Shop, SKULLSHOPPE. They're offering this year 30% discount on their human skulls. And you can see their skulls are totally amazing and realistic. All my skull flower paintings exclusively use Skull Shop skulls. That's how good they are. So every skull you've seen me paint that I use reference, I use the Skull Shop skull. SKULLSHOPPE. If you join at the $5 level, you'll get a code for 30% off one of their human skulls, which is really amazing. Really generous of them. And he does it just to support. That's the way Kyle at Skull Shop, he listens to the show. He loves the show. And he just offered that to me as a way of trying to get more people to support it. So that's really cool of him. And I love his skulls. And I tell everybody about his skulls. Anybody who's interested, I tell about Skull Shop. What else? That's it. I think that's it. Let's get on with it. I think it's kind of a shorter episode, but like I said, very good one. I always enjoy talking to Gabe. That's it. Here we go. I hope you like it. Okay. Oops, I forgot to say 3, 2, 1. Hi, Gabe.
Hi, Chet.
How are you?
Uh,
You always look
living.
so relaxed.
I'm living the meme.
Don't do it.
I meme everything I say. The meme
Oh.
rises to the top.
Yeah.
I love me some meme corn.
What?
Whipped meme. I love whipped meme on my desserts.
Now you're pushing it.
Well, yeah, anything worth doing is worth pounding into the ground till it's absolutely dead.
Well, we're supposed to meet Christopher Ulrich here because the three of us went to the LA Art Show this weekend, which is the big art convention in LA where all these galleries from all over the country and I think all over the world maybe gather and have booths and show all their best artists and so the three of us went there, me and Gabe and Christopher Ulrich, and he's supposed to be here, so I don't know where he is. So it's
He's
just
probably doing what we should be doing, which is working on artwork. He's probably
I
making
did
the right calls.
I did some painting this morning, and I'll do some after this is edited and put together. I've got commissions I'm working on. I'm getting like finally, the commissions I've been trying to finish for the last 3 years. I keep saying every year I'm going to finish.
Which ones are those?
All of them. It's just a bunch of one commission I've owed for like 9 years. I think it's really bad, but I finally.
I got a 9-year waiting list for commissions from Chet.
Yeah, it's bad, but I've got a big one for.
I'm going to start telling people that instead of telling them I don't do commissions, I'm going to tell them it's a 9-year waiting list.
I just had someone asked me to do a commission. I was like, I don't want to take the deposit yet because I got to get done with all these first. I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't keep perpetuating this. It's the worst feeling to have all these building up. But I've got them, almost all of them, started or mostly done. So I'm really feeling good about that. Finally,
Commissions are a double-edged sword, aren't they?
In what way? I could think of a few
in one
ways.
way, that's a guaranteed sale. It's revenue. The other side of it is obligation.
Yeah.
Now you're obligated to fulfill on something that, unless you're 100% behind the project, it becomes more and more of an obligation.
Yeah. I would say the other downside, that's true. That's what, I try and only take on commissions that are something I'd be interested in doing anyway, or something I think I could do a good job at or would be fun to do. But the other negative is that it doesn't get out into the wild for people to see it in person at a gallery show, which is always kind of good to, when paintings are out there and they get seen by a lot of people. They're just going directly to the person, but you can, with social media now, you can kind of show it around and stuff. So I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to get like one of those $100,000 commissions, like Todd Short got a while back. That there's a Treasures of Long Gone John. That collector is a documentary. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. And I think in the bonus features, there's a commission. I don't know if this is true, but I heard it was $100,000 commission. Maybe, I don't know if it's like a secret. I don't know even where I heard it. It was so long ago. But he's doing this big ass painting. It's a time lapse, and it took him a year. Todd Shore's stuff is really amazing and really detailed, and it took him a year. So it was just like, here, you're going to make $100,000 on this painting this year and just spend all year on this one painting, which sounds fun to me.
Yeah, there is pressure when you're doing commissions that, like I try, when I've done commissions, try to approach it like I approach any of my other paintings.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a sort of back of your mind pressure to, you want to do the best job that you can for the client. The other downside is like a lot of times commissions are turned into, they come out of a vanity project. Those are the ones that I really don't like, when it's like a portrait of the person who's commissioning it, or they want to be inside of it, or they want to give direction. Some, when they approach it as they're looking for someone as a pair of hired hands to just apply their style like it's a filter over something.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not interested in those things.
Yeah, I don't really take those ones on. I kind of like, I usually say give me, unless it is a portrait or something, a straight portrait, which I'm doing one right now, which I don't mind at all because I haven't done enough to where I feel like I can nail it every time easily. It's still challenging. It's like you've done way more likeness portraits than I have. So it's like you can nail it. It's more of a struggle for me, so I feel like I need the practice.
Yeah.
And so there's room to grow, and so that makes it challenging and fun. But I usually just am like, they usually when they come to me, they're they like my artwork, and they're not just choosing me to as an artist to do a painting. It's like they like my style, so I'm like, send me pictures of your favorite pieces of mine.
Yeah, but when they come to you with they like your style, but they want you to do something that is nothing remotely close to your subject matter.
Yeah. That's what
if I wanted you to paint kittens.
Yeah, I do like painting animals, so I would do kittens.
Oh, that's not.
I might not do.
A few minutes ago.
I might not. No, those are cartoony kittens, cute cartoony kittens.
You get my point. Yeah. Somebody come to you with like, we want you to do a painting of like Scooby Doo, but with Chet style on it or whatever it is.
Yeah, I generally turn those ones down. I had a really bad experience early on where I was so accommodating it was way early at the very beginning of my career, and I was so happy to get a commission that I was like, he would look at it and go, what if you did this? And I go, okay, and I try it, and I show him, what if you did this? And it just, whoa, shit. And it just ended up being like, I thought one of the worst paintings I've ever done.
Yeah, I've had that happen. That's why I get tired.
It happens once, and you're like, no, that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, then you start putting down rules, and you start realizing, like, you know what? I don't like doing these.
Yeah.
I would rather just take the risk and go out on my own idea and fall flat on my face.
Right.
And it doesn't work, and then I don't have to worry. I don't like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
I don't have to worry about somebody else. Like, they get nervous because like they're putting down money. They don't know what they're going to get. They want to make sure they're going to get something they like, and especially people who have never commissioned anything before.
Right.
Typically, I got to the point where I wouldn't do commissions unless they've already purchased original artwork of mine.
That's a good idea.
They're already committed to what I'm doing. They're invested in it. Somebody just coming out of the gate, never have collected anything from me and just want me to start doing work for them like a pair of hired hands.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons we become independent artists is to not have to.
Yeah, exactly. Is to not be a pair. That was my last job. I was literally being art directed, and I had to make what they told me, and it's like that's the whole reason, or one of the main reasons I got out of that.
I've gotten everything from like that people would think like, oh, you're doing what you love, so why should I even pay you? Yeah. Or they think that your style is something that is conjured up like it's a filter. Like you can take anything, just put it into your style, but
right.
Style is just the way we happen to do it. Like penmanship, there's certain how people think about this.
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, there's certain things I would turn down because I don't think I could do them. Like some of the paintings you've done, I don't think I could do. Like the dump truck series, those things to me were so amazing that I'm like, man.
The coal trucks.
Yeah. I was like, I wouldn't even know how. Even like a lot of the car stuff you do, or those motorcycles and the apocalypse ones, it's like, man, that's like so far out of my comfort zone that I don't even know how I'd approach it.
That's the fun of doing them, is that I haven't done something quite like that before, but I'm interested in the subject matter. So then you have to learn how to. I mean, painting them isn't like everything is landscape painting when it comes to representational artwork. Like you're creating a space and objects in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
For a lighting and atmosphere. Everything else is just like, how do you construct it to look like the thing? Like, faces and hands and people are different because they look completely different. There's not really a uniform way to draw, but they also fall subject to perspective, point of view, depth of field, all those things. But they have more of a specific structure to them that if you don't get them right, they look incorrect.
Right.
But if you know enough about it, you can start distorting things and playing with them so that even if they're elongated or whatever, or stretched out, you can make them look believable because you can still make sort of the parts that got to connect together to
Yeah.
look right. So
Mm-hmm.
you can start playing around with it. Same thing with anything, cars, landscapes.
Yeah.
Once you start understanding the sort of basic way of what the way things work visually, the way you see things, you can then start distorting them like a funhouse mirror
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to
and
know.
into a complete abstraction if you want to.
Yeah. I guess it's just a way I mean, when you did those coal trucks, were they did you go out and shoot reference? You had some photo
Yeah,
reference and
I went to my hometown, Gillette, Wyoming, big coal mining town. Uh, uh, the gallery owner's husband works in the coal mines, so I went out there with him to the coal mines. Got to ride around in the trucks. Got to shoot
cool.
reference, like be around them. Yeah, so I had at least some limited personal experience next to them. So I knew it was important was to convey the scale, which is really
Yeah,
hard because
yeah.
they're so gigantic. Like the
Yeah.
tires are 15, 20 feet tall.
Yeah, they're so amazing.
So, and then when I was a kid, I used to love monster trucks. I used to draw monster trucks going through the mud and flying
Yeah,
over
me
crush up
too.
cars. So there was a personal interest, and there was something real to it. And I was interested in, I did a series of paintings that revolved around sort of the industry that I grew up around at the oil fields and coal mines and stuff like that,
Mm,
and the people that are the people and the machinery of it is pretty fascinating and pretty interesting
yeah,
visually. And so,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
I was always impressed with those paintings. I guess it's just a matter of taking, like you said, aside from getting to know the subject matter, but also taking the your reference and breaking it down, just like anything, breaking it down, just like a portrait, breaking it down into simple shapes, and then painting it simply like that. Like you didn't project those ones, did you? Or did?
no,
Yeah, it's like that's the thing that killed me is like the perspective was all right, and it was like a weird angle, the giant tire, and it was impressive. I love those paintings. I don't think those are like super well known paintings of yours, but they're some of my favorite
no,
ones.
they're really niche.
Yeah, but they're
I
cool
guess.
though, man. They're so cool. Maybe
But
you
that
can.
goes back to that goes back to the reference. I think people get really caught up on copying their reference too much,
Yeah,
like and the
that's what I love about your Walter Whites. Is you're like, when I do portraits generally, I'm like, I trace them out, even with the Skullfire paintings, because it's just easier and
yeah,
faster, and getting a likeness is difficult, but I like the way you do it, where you're just eyeballing it. You're kind of doing it the proper way, where you're just eyeballing it
it
and
would be
getting the
easier
shapes right.
if I had people. When I have somebody sitting in front of me, it's much easier to get to it than it is off of
Yeah.
a photograph sometimes.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I'm gonna do that for some Skullflower paintings, like you were talking about, doing them, set up a little shadow box or something, and do it for
yeah,
life.
it would be a different. You would have different paintings if you
Yeah.
did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yeah.
might be that there is some advantage to setting it up with photographs too, is that you can control the lighting, you can take a fleeting moment and capture it,
Right.
bring it back as reference. um, but the problem is that when you're using exclusively photographic reference and you don't have any time in the you know doing it from life, you're relying on the lens as the authority of the
Right.
viewpoint. So you're showing something through the lens and the focal distortion, the
Yeah.
lens distortion. So all that is being shown through into
Yeah.
the painting, and that becomes a part, somewhat of an authority in the artwork.
Yeah.
It's like when you work from a photographic reference and then you go see it, whatever you're working from in person again, you start realizing all the things that you missed from the photograph.
Right. Right.
But even if you were just painting a still life with flowers, if you worked from life, then when you go look at the photograph that you've taken, you remember all this stuff and you have this practice from life that you're building on. And then the photograph becomes just a point of reference to
Mm-hmm.
help you when you get stuck on what you can't remember.
Right.
When you work exclusively from photographs, you're relying on the photograph to give you all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're limited on what is in that photograph
Right.
because you can't turn it around 360 degrees and look at it from different angles, change the light on it really easily. So
Yeah.
you are limited to to that reference if that's what you're working from exclusively.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I have my
So
skull handy, so I can kind of like, if something's weird in the photo, I could be
yeah,
like, "What is that?" And I like turn it, and oh, that's this arch here that's looking
yeah. Well,
funky
but
because
also
it's
you have all this sculpting background too, so you have
yeah,
this intimate knowledge of what heads and faces and skulls look like in 3 dimensions.
right,
Even if you didn't have it in front of you, you have all this traditional understanding of these things.
yeah,
It's even worse if you're not using your own references because you didn't even set it up. You're like,
yeah, right,
I see all kinds of people like they're talking about things they find on the internet. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
yeah. That's
It's like you can't find it on the internet. It just doesn't exist if it's not on the internet.
yeah. I remember in some of my. It's funny, and some of my dad never got it reference from the internet because he was too old. But he had he had photos he had taken in like the late 70s, early 80s. I remember him taking these photos like with my sister because she used to model, and uh, and they kept like the camera zooms in when you take a drink. Um, uh, they kept popping up in his paintings, like different costumes and different placements, but he would just recycle all of this reference that he took himself, because he had this big library of all the stuff he had taken himself
Yeah,
back
I've
with
done that too.
film cameras.
I've started a painting, and I'm like, I need reference for this, and I go back through all of my reference to find like the arm in that position, and
Right.
but the lighting's not right. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
you eventually you just have to go redo it, set up your own thing, but redo it. But I used to start when I first started. I just got those disposable cameras and shot the pictures of people posing things. Then had to go get it developed,
Yeah.
but that you couldn't control the focal length or the
Right,
you know
right.
the what's the word I'm looking for?
The lens
The
distortion?
focus. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
couldn't. What was in focus, what was out of focus, all that stuff, and you had to spend money getting the film developed.
I know. And you had to wait
And
a week
you
or
only had
whatever.
24 shots.
Yep.
And so like then I got a nicer camera and I was still doing film. And then when the digital cameras came around, it's like all of a sudden you could just shoot a million pictures and that was it was okay, but not necessarily better because then you just start relying on that shit even more.
Yeah. Yeah, I've so far I've used for these skull flower paintings, I've taken my own photo reference and I back up and zoom in to try to to where it looks kind of natural because just the natural and I've just been using my iPhone camera, but the natural normal setting in the iPhone, it gives you a lot of distortion. So I found out if I back up and then zoom in, it kind of flattens everything out. So there's less lens distortion. And when it starts looking
Yeah.
natural, I'll use that. But it's kind of like, it's been lately more for efficiency sake. It's just like, I know I can do them faster and easier. And usually I'm waiting to the last minute and I have to crank something out. And it's like, okay, I'm going to use the photo and project it. And at least I'll have the major lines there.
Also, if you're using real flowers, they wilt and die.
Yeah,
and
that's
over time. And
that's the other thing. One of those two paintings I had at the LA Art Show above the blood rose paintings, there was one that had pink flowers, and then the other one they were dead. That was because I left them in that same skull a couple days and they died, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool too. So I ended up painting both of them. But I bought I got a box of Etsy fake flowers, which are really handy because I can, they don't die and I can use them and they don't look quite as good as real flowers, but I can use that for the basic shape and the shadow and the lighting. And then I can get all kinds of reference off gardening sites and just like see what they look like from all these different pictures, the texture, and then just kind of make it up,
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying
right
them.
now I'm at a point where I have some ideas. I start my paintings and then I go get reference after I got them started and I kind of get stuck. But that can also work for and against you.
Yeah, there's always, there's no perfect way. There's always difficulties and whatever.
I just don't like. I just copying a photograph straight from a photograph. I don't know.
I've been doing that with my skull flowers and I fucking love it. It's so much fun because I've never done that. For me, it's like a new
You work
thing.
the opposite all this whole time. You
Yeah.
don't even use references for the most part.
Yeah, I've been making
And I'm going the opposite direction. I'm trying to like get rid of all my references now. I'm just like working out of my mind a lot more.
Yeah, yeah.
Find a lot more satisfaction in
So it's
that.
like for me, it's new and kind of fun, you know.
Yeah.
It's just part of the
Well,
process.
yeah, yeah. If you're enjoying doing what you're doing, that's what really
Yeah,
counts.
totally. That's a big part of why I take any painting. Like I think of painting sometimes ideas, like the one I was just telling you before that we started the show. It's like I wouldn't want to do it because it wouldn't be fun, even though I think it's a pretty good idea. You know, it's like it has to be. There's like never been an idea so good that I did it, even though I knew it was going to be a terrible experience because it wouldn't be fun painting this, whatever this thing is. It's like, that's part of why, you know, I feel like I can't really do a good job if there's not some element of enjoyment in the process,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I haven't had an idea that was better in my interest in it. Like usually
Yeah,
when
right.
you have a good idea, that's where your interest is in the idea.
Right.
And you know, there is some enjoyment in doing technical things,
Mm-hmm.
but after a while that kind of gets, for me, it gets kind of bored. Just if I was doing the same technique over and over and over on things, I think that would turn it, it becomes a manufacturing process.
Yeah. 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 And
And
that's, you know, that's part of the process though. It's like once you get bored, you start changing things to mix it up. And I think that only
yes,
comes after a certain point in your career where you're established, you've got your style, you're comfortable, and then to break out outside of that is it keeps it interesting for you, you know?
yeah, I mean, lately how I do things is I've gotten a lot more rigorous in my getting my prep work done, like cleaning my palette. Like I clean all of my junk paint off my palette and start with fresh paint all the time.
Oh, wow.
Even if it's scabbed over, it's like it's not worth the time to clean the scabs off because you get little scabby pieces in your paint. I don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Especially if you're working on big, larger pieces too.
Even on small pieces. So what I do is I put out a few colors and I just start with mixing colors like that I think are cool and I like, and then I experiment with maybe three or four colors.
Hmm.
A couple of pigments, and then maybe black and white. That might be the only thing I have in my palette. Then how far can I push that? And then I practice on little small panels and just putting the colors next to each other, making abstract paintings, maybe just a silhouette of a character or something, and see how the colors interact. And then when something starts clicking, like, oh, that's something I like, and then I bring that into bigger paintings, or I have something in a big painting that I'm not quite sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I go and I just start practicing on small panels to see how to make that work. I've been getting rid of solvents and mediums out of my paint more and
Mm-hmm.
more. I use palette knives to do all my mixing, and
Yeah.
it becomes a lot more fun. Also, I'm just having fun mixing colors
Yeah.
together. I've gotten quite a bit into the pigment codes in the back, like paying attention to what those
Yeah.
codes are.
It's so interesting when you learn about the pigment codes. It's so cool.
Yeah, and I started ignoring all of the paint names because different brands use different same
Yeah.
name for different pigment codes.
Yep.
But what's interesting is, so you'll find like some colors I've used are they're tube colors, but they're mixtures of several different pigments.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you can do is you can use that as if that's one of your favorite colors, you put it on it, but then you can go find those pigment codes and find the
Mix it
actual
yourself.
pigments. Well, even if you don't remix it yourself, you then have the satellite color. So say I have
Oh,
this color
yeah.
called indigo blue that has as a black, it has a Prussian blue and a French ultramarine.
Hmm.
And then I can put those three colors next to it. And then if I want it to be a little bit more on the black side, a little bit more on the Prussian side, or more on
That's a good idea.
this other green, this green that I have is like a really warm lime green,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's in a brand that's a student brand, but the color is really good.
Yeah,
So
I
I
know
can
what you're
buy all
talking
the other,
about. It's a cool
yeah.
color.
And so then I have India yellow, a Hansa yellow, a white, and a chromium oxide. There's four pigments in that.
Wow.
But if I was to try to mix that consistently to get that green, it would be really difficult.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
use the already pre-mixed, or I just use those four colors to kind of approximate it, and then I can make all these different variations of it by being more on the Indian yellow, or more on the green, or more or less white, and then I have a complementary color that's been using with that called cadmium orange,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mix it with white. I mix it into a gray. I mix it into that green. I always different ways. Then all of a sudden you have a warm and a cool palette plus the variations of saturation and neutral to chromatic colors,
Yeah.
just in four tube
Yeah.
paints.
That's a great idea. I never thought of that. Actually, I wanted to ask you, do you have like, I remember Sean Barber told me years and years ago when I was first starting out that he was telling me a good, I don't want to mess this up because I don't want to give any wrong info, but I think he was saying a good like Caucasian flesh tone was manganese blue and cadmium orange is like kind of a good starting point, and then using alizarin crimson and
I don't use alizarin crimson.
olive green for
Yeah,
shadow color. So I was wondering, do you have like go to flesh tones?
it depends on the kind of flesh and depends on the kind of light that it's in. But an average like white guy flesh tone,
Mm-hmm.
I use a cadmium red light.
Uh huh.
You can mix that with chromium oxide and white, and those red and the green kind of neutralize each other
Ah,
to a bit.
okay.
You can mix in yellow ochre or raw sienna to make it a little bit more. Those are yellowish colors, but they're a little more neutral.
Mm-hmm.
But or you can use cobalt blue and cadmium red light. Those mixed together are good daylight for in the light and the shadow. So the shadow would have more cobalt blue in it. Then
Okay.
you're using a white to lighten it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So those are colors that I use quite a bit.
What were you gonna say
But
about alizarin?
it fades. And I found a really good
There's
replacement for
yeah,
it.
there's a
Oh, let me grab it real quick.
yeah, I've got it's Rembrandt. Uh
Perylene red is my replacement for it.
oh wow. Yeah, I use Perylene red too, but that's kind of
A little more rusty, but it's a good dark transparent red. It's pigment PR149.
okay. Here is the permanent alizarin crimson replacement that I use. It's like got the same transparency, and it's Rembrandt. What? Permanent matter deep, and it is. Let me see what the code is. God, I can't see. I've been using that ever since I found out about that. I think PR264, and it's almost exactly like alizarin crimson. It behaves. It's that transparency and stuff. So I found it works.
I'll have to go onto Virgil's Facebook group and see who's shitting
I,
on it.
no. I heard it. I got it from like I forget who. Someone who's really good. Maybe David Casson. Maybe. Anyway, well, we're supposed to be talking about the LA Art Fair or the LA Art Show.
To be fair, this is more interesting than anything we saw at the LA Art Fair.
That's not. Yeah, that's not true.
There was some good stuff there.
Yeah. There was. It was. You'd mentioned. It's funny. You mentioned. It was smaller and
yeah, it seemed like it was much smaller.
The German in Venice said the same thing. I don't know if you watched that video I sent you, but he was there the day we were there. He got like. He totally filmed my Skull Rose paintings too. He like was in on the rose and
cool.
And zoomed out on him. It's just like I made it on a German in Venice. I'm famous. But yeah, he was saying it was a little smaller as well, and I didn't notice it until you said it. But yeah, seemed quite a bit smaller.
Yeah, I noticed as soon as I walked in, it was a way smaller footprint of a festival. But it was also there was the LA Freeze going on and another one called the Other Art Festival somewhere in Atwater the same week.
Why would you do that?
Because they're all dummies. I don't know, whoever planned this ahead just.
It seems like they're doing it on purpose. Maybe it's like for people that come out of town, since it's like a week-long thing, they could go to the different ones. Maybe that's the thinking.
I don't know, but what that does is it splits up all the vendors between three festivals.
Yeah.
Not that they would all do all three if they weren't that way, but that was one thought I had.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things. One, I didn't notice an AI influence this time around like I did last year.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Not
I didn't really notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it seemed like there was a lot less good art there. There was a lot more garbage. There was
Yeah,
some cool stuff there, but there was just a lot of just contrived, like pretty pictures stuff down to just complete turds.
I thought the Copro booth was really good. I thought the
Yeah,
Copro booth was great.
yeah,
It's always interesting. To me, it's like that's just my taste, I suppose. But to me, it's just like a standout booth because it's just like
they had a good presence at the show for
yeah.
sure.
And the Arcadia Gallery is the one that I'm
Yeah,
always
they're always one of the top
yeah.
galleries at the
And
show.
that the one there's a
Although they are really a they're a traditional academic kind of art gallery,
yeah, but there's
and so all their artists are really 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 good at skilled art.
yeah. But like we were saying at the show, I like that they tend to have moody, slightly
Yeah, I remember
dark,
you saying
slightly
that,
moody
and
stuff.
I thought about that for a while, but the thing is that it's some of it's just like moody for moody's sake. They're like you can just it's like sunset like paintings of sunsets.
Yeah,
It's
I don't.
moody.
Yeah, maybe it's a taste thing because I
Yeah.
like a lot of that
Well, they
stuff.
definitely have
I really dug it.
they do have a sort of cohesive look. The gallery has a vision on what they're doing. I'm not trying to knock or anything. I'm just like, uh,
Doesn't float your
uh,
boat as much as it does mine.
well, I don't even know if I would say that. I mean, I like their art. I like their presentation. It was good stuff.
Yeah,
A
it's
few
just
of my favorite art, several of the few favorite things I saw there were from their gallery for sure.
yeah. I was really blown away by Miriam Hoffman, I think is her name. I want to see if she'll come on the podcast because man, you know the stuff I'm. Do you remember the stuff I was talking about where it's like
Yeah, I think so.
black, a really pale woman's face, and then like a black veil and black background, and it's like it's so simple, but it still works, and it's just so gorgeous. It's so
It was really
beautiful.
photographic too, wasn't it?
No, I mean, it was tight. It was tightly rendered, but I wouldn't call it photographic. Although I think she does work for photographs, but she freehands it. I'm on her Instagram. She has photo. She paints like you in
Yeah.
that way, where she blocks things out. She doesn't do any tracing. But man, her stuff is like it's like the style is kind of tight, but I wouldn't say it
Yeah.
was photo real. Like some of the stuff. Remember that guy from last year who was painting every single pore that was just like the guy who painted the people in down jackets.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are I mean,
I didn't see that work. Was that guy there again this show?
yeah, I think he had some pieces there, a couple pieces. But yeah, that's just like crazy. That takes it to I mean, if you're going to go that way, you might as well go all the way. Like that. That's like if you're going to do it, go all the way to where it's like you have to look up this close and you're still not seeing any brush marks. It's like I can dig that. It's not.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make artwork that like that. It would just be too tedious and
Yeah,
mind.
it's not my thing,
And if
but
it's so photographic, it's like I don't understand why you just don't use it. Like why do you want to make a painting that much of a photograph? I don't understand
that's
that.
I mean that's the big argument about photorealism. It's like why not just take a photo and I don't know. I feel like there's a different presence from it because it was created by hand and you can still see that there's paint on there. There's something about that. And it's also, it's an impressive technical feat as well. The illusion, I think a lot of people respond naturally to photorealism because it looks like a magic trick. It's like, wow, how did they do that? It looks just like a
Yeah,
photo. Like that's a compliment people give all the time on Instagram. It looks just like a photograph. I thought that was a photograph. It's like,
that's
okay.
like telling somebody the food they made you is just like store bought.
That's as good as store bought. That's as good. That hamburger was as good as
Not really a
McDonald's.
compliment to me.
But for maybe people that aren't as sophisticated with their knowledge of painting, that strikes them. That's like that resonates with anybody, even if they don't have any knowledge of painting, because it's like, how do
But
you do
what
that?
you see now is those people, a lot of people that are that good, they're now copying AI reference.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's
And so they've turned it back, like what I said, they've turned it back into a manufacturing process rather than
yeah,
some sort of like expression of an idea or an experience or some sort of thing that they're bringing into the world.
Yeah, that's like Mr. Honey Ass.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen that guy.
With all his fake bots.
That's one
a
thing I
million
didn't
fake bot
see at the
followers.
show was I didn't see any sort of like social media influencer art.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah.
Because they're too busy doing live streams. Or doing spin arounds with their paintings, saying that they sold them for $180,000.
Yeah, or no, they put 80 hours into it.
Whatever, yeah, like always.
It's like that's not the flex you think it is, especially when you see some of the art. It's funny though, but that's to an I hate to sound like a snob, but to an audience that is not educated about art and painting. The more time, the better. It's like, wow, 80 hours. That's incredible. Rather than like, they don't know about economy of brushstroke and, efficiency and energy in the brushstrokes and stuff. Like, it's just like, they have never really heard about that.
Some appeal to like this, all this labor and time and that you put into it. Like you're just nights on all nighters that you put in. Like, there is something to that sometimes, but if you can produce a impactful piece of artwork in 10 minutes, that's impressive to me.
Oh, like, yeah. That's harder, I think. It's harder to do.
Because to get to that point, you have to have already put in all those hours.
Yeah. I always tell that story about the kind of impressionistic paintings I did of my dog, and I finally did it. It was so hard to do. It's more like how you paint, where it's you're really. I did it really fast too, as this painting of my dog, Tatsu. And once I just did it because I had to prove that, because I felt like the best painters can do that. And I wasn't able to do it naturally. And once I did it, I was like, oh, I did it. And then I just kind of went back to painting the way I always paint, because I just like to paint that way,
Yeah.
Even though
there isn't a virtue in painting loose or
yeah, I know,
or quick or anything. There's not sort of like virtue in it, but like I'm always painting from a point of view, like, does it feel correct more than is it technically right?
Right.
Like, if it doesn't look like the reference, I don't give a shit. What I want, it has to stand on its own legs. If it doesn't, if there's something off and it doesn't feel right, like it comes from a core, like it just isn't right. And then you have to figure out why doesn't it not feel right? Like when it gets to that point where it feels correct, that's where I'm more interested in. Yeah, and that's why there's looseness in the painting, because like once it feels right, there's no need to keep going in and refining things. Right. I think sometimes at least in my work, like there's a tendency to try to start resolving detail and controlling and strong arming something into submission, rather than stepping back and realizing, I have the entire skull in the wrong angle, and I have to reshape this whole thing.
Right.
I can paint all the little wrinkles around the eye all I want. It ain't gonna make it look better.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. Like seeing have to constantly zoom out to the bigger picture and then zoom back in towards detail. And I like it when the detail isn't even there. It's just sort of implied. There's like, you get up to it and it's just like really just brush strokes here and there, but you step back and it's like, zing.
Yeah.
That's fun for me.
Yeah, I'm doing a copy, right? Or not a copy, but the Isle of the Dead? I sent you that. I think I sent you that Bocklin painting, Isle of the Dead. Didn't I show that to you?
I don't remember.
Hold on. I'm doing my version of it. Ever seen that painting?
Oh, yeah, that looks cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's like, normally it's got cypress trees, but I put smokestacks instead of cypress trees.
That's not, yeah.
And it's been so fun, because it's like I'm doing a master's copy, which I never got to do really, because I don't have an education really. So, I mean, I'm self-educated, but and then I want to put my twist on it, so it's going to be a little bit different, but all the colors are kind of there, and it's like he's got a lot of that in like the plants and the flowers and stuff, little subtle things that are just like dabs of paint, and it's so good for me to be doing that. That's what you get from. That's the benefit of doing master's copies. Is
a lot of things are figured out for you. Then it just becomes a study on getting the color and the brush strokes right.
Yeah. It's the best way to understand a painting, though. I kind of wish I had done that early on, but I just was so like,
Not too late.
I know. Well, I'm doing it right now. It's true. I could do it. That's a good point. I never thought about it. I was always so fired up to do my own stuff. Like, I got to do my own thing. I was just so excited that I never did that, even though it would have benefited me in the long run, you know?
Yeah, like I said, you can still go back and do a whole series of like tribute paintings to, old masters and stuff.
Yeah. It's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that on my days off.
When's that?
In like 2028.
February 31st.
So as far back to the LA art show, yeah, I thought it was funny that we missed the German in Venice. He was there the same day we were, and we totally missed him. And Erica talked to him and everything.
Was he there before or after we were
there? I don't know. I'll have to ask her. I'm not sure.
We were too busy to go get pizza. That's what.
Yeah, that was worth it though.
Yeah.
Purgatory, shout out Purgatory Pizza, so good. I felt like because it was smaller, it felt like, yeah, maybe there wasn't as much good work as last time.
It was easier to get through the whole thing and see everything. Pretty easy.
It seemed like though, because it was smaller, there was less crap too, but there was less good. It just seemed like it was all kind of scaled down, whereas before there was like kind of more good pieces than I remember, but there was also a lot of bad pieces last time when it was bigger.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was
there was a bunch of nervousness surrounding galleries not wanting to, not being sure if they should be or putting their money on the line because all the fires in the Palisades that happened. A lot of big collectors came from those areas, and
yeah.
So I have a friend that works at LA Freeze, and that's what he was saying. Like, the galleries were just nervous about whether it was insensitive to be trying to sell art when a bunch of their collectors had lost their homes and collections, or if there'd even be anybody showing up to buy artwork, and it's not cheap to have those booths.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I know one of my collectors lost their collection. I know at least one person, and I know some other people that I don't know lost major art collections too. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And that is the value of original handmade art right there. The fact that it can be lost in a fire, That's why
maybe we should start making bronzes. That's what
I know.
Although the heat of some of those fires, those bronzes might have melted too.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know what the melting point of bronze is, but I that bronze of the soft spot bronze I did way back on the Ego Death show. Someone bought that, who shall remain nameless, and it wound up in a thrift store.
Really?
Off the base, off the marble base, like loose, and someone else bought it for like really cheap. Like, I forgot, it was like $1,000 or something.
Dang.
And he was showing it to me, and it's like the bronze, it's like it had been off the base and probably rolling on the floor. There was no damage to the bronze at all.
Yeah, those things are tough.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's like they'll survive a nuclear war practically.
I bought a self-portrait I did in 2004 off of eBay a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
I'd sold it back in like 2004 or 5 to somebody at an art festival, and then
someone bought a self-portrait of you?
When I first started doing it, I was so surprised that somebody wanted to buy it. I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. Like, I sold it for maybe $350 or something. I don't know.
Did you lose any money when you bought it back?
Yeah, I bought it back for $165.
Oh, killer. So you just well,
what happened is, I don't, George, he's bought artwork from you. He shows up at Valesco's.
Yeah.
Party sometimes. Mm-hmm. Well, he pointed out to me. I said, "Hey, is this one of your pieces?" Because somebody saw it on eBay, and I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, "Maybe I'll buy it back." And I think he said, "Oh, he was going to buy it, and he felt kind of bad about not letting me buy it. He's like, "Oh, you should buy it. Just go back to museum." That was really nice of him.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah,
And so I bought my own self-portrait back. Returned it home. I wish I could get more of them back. I sold a handful of them early on.
Oh, you don't have all of them. You don't have every year.
I sold like the first 2004, 5, 6, and 7 probably.
Oh wow, yeah, they're out there somewhere unless they got burned up.
Well, I needed the money. Like one of them was I came back broke from that art expo in New York, and I was desperate. And like, so he's like, "You have another self portrait?" I'm like, "I have it right here." And it was like, "It's sold." I need to pay AT&T. They're coming after me.
Oh yeah. Been there many times. Yeah.
And then finally I was like, you know what, I should keep these. And then I quit marking them off for sale.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that, and what it was like, it sold to some guy that lived in Salt Lake City. He'd fly down in his private jet every year to go to the Beverly Hills Art Festival.
Oh wow. And
he bought a bunch of art from people, including some stuff from me. And he bought a couple of my self-portraits. And then it just showed up on eBay like it was from some estate sale. Like I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Was he old?
No, it didn't seem like he was old. He was a family guy. I don't know, maybe in his 30s, early 40s at the time. I don't know. Could have been just that he was tired of looking at a dumbass painting and he wanted to get rid of it. It didn't mean anything to him.
Right.
But the people who were selling it, like, they didn't reach out to me. They didn't bother to try to I don't know. They could have probably got. I might have been willing to pay even more for it.
Right. Yeah.
But I wasn't going to tell them any different.
Yeah. I had a collector, the guy who's waiting on the 9-year base painting, the Isle of the Dead painting. He, Erwin, he saw someone selling one of my old, like a weird obscure painting on eBay, and he bought it because he's like, you don't want your stuff on eBay like that. Like he thought he was like, it doesn't look good if your stuff's on eBay. So he bought it and sent it to me.
Oh,
which is super cool. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah.
Really good.
Well, yeah, there's stuff of mine on eBay, but I mean, I'm not selling it on eBay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I did early when eBay was first a thing, like in 1999, I sold some landscape paintings on eBay. And it was back then, it was like, you sold it and then they sent you a check in the mail. And when you cash the check, they just,
Damn.
PayPal was even a thing.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I didn't do? I didn't continue to follow that path.
That's hilarious.
So many balls I dropped early on. Like if I would have just pursued it.
Yeah. I don't know. You're doing pretty good for yourself. I think you made the right moves.
I made moves.
You're doing all right. And what other thoughts do you have of the LA Art Show?
I mean, I had a good time hanging out with you and Ulrich. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was super fun.
On there, strolling around. Going to get pizza afterward was a good time.
It's true.
I'm glad it was kind of not any bigger. It was like I don't know if I could have taken in any more.
It was kind of.
It's nice having a smaller venue. I wish there was more interesting exhibits. I think there was just with not trying to just dog shit everything. Maybe it just wasn't for me. But
there was some stuff that was not good. It was not good. That I'm sorry, but that Elon Musk portrait is like.
I mean, if you're gonna do one, you got to go a little bigger. You just got to go for it. I mean, it was like this big. And and it wasn't even a good, interesting image of it. It was just.
There was
it's like there were so many. There was way too much room for improvement.
Yeah, right.
That was the only room left was improvement. It could only have gone up, and from there it was like.
Yeah. I just was like, man, if there was some kind of clever title maybe or something, and then the title was totally earnest about changing the world, and I'm just like, oh God, this is not.
It was like almost like a bootlicking title.
Yeah.
Covered in glitter.
But there was some.
It was amateurish. I mean, if it was it was like maybe your nephew did that or something. You're like, oh,
right. But it's at the biggest,
job,
the biggest art show.
They paid a lot of money for booth space.
Yeah, Yeah, it was really
They're putting it on
strange.
exhibit in the public.
Right.
It's like, come on. It wasn't, I guess it's not a museum.
Because I mean, like, like Ulrich was saying, it's like, uh, there really, it's really, art is not subjective. I think in the way people say it is.
There's ways to
What pe-
objectively measure some aspects of art.
what people like is subjective, but I don't know. There does seem like the people that have studied art and that know what good art is can make judgments on this kind of base level of. I don't. That's not true. That's not true. I've seen that Jerry Saltz critic guy totally shit on a painting I thought was pretty damn good, like a representational kind of painting.
Yeah.
So I guess it's all whatever.
I mean, when I look at my own art, I see all kinds of mistakes and flaws and shit, so it's not like trying to make a judgment about other art or artists and
Yeah, I
somehow
know.
I'm any better.
I know.
I hold myself to my own standards too, and I never meet them. Or very rarely do. Sometimes I look back at something like, oh, actually, I did a pretty good job, but I don't even know how I did it. Like, how did I pull that off? And I may not even recognize it until later. And then there's things that I think that were good, and I just like look back at it, I'm like, oh, that's stupid.
That's not
But
most of them
we can
or
be our
anything.
own, we can critique our own work too in the same sort
Yeah,
of light. But
there was
we're
some.
also creative people, and we do this all the time. And so when we're going into a venue where we're seeing other art on public presentation, it is there to be absorbed and experienced. And if the experience is like disappointing, it's disappointing because we understand that what's possible, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's not hitting any. Sometimes something can be crudely done
Right, but it
and still
hits
be a
you.
fantastic piece
Yeah,
of artwork.
yeah, yeah,
But sometimes something can be crudely done, and it's just because the person, it's just crudely done, and it's amateurish, and they're doing things that don't make it. They're doing things that, for lack of a better word, breaking the rules, but they're not getting anything out of it other
yeah,
than it just looks like they didn't know what they were doing.
yeah,
On
yeah.
a technical level,
Right,
sometimes that can be made up within a creative vision for the piece, or like maybe an aesthetic or something. But sometimes they just miss all. You're looking for the thing that maybe you're missing about it. Like, why is this on a wall presented to the public?
right.
But what is it that you're bringing forward into the world? And I can't find anything in there to
Well, it's
very
especially in that environment when there are some
yeah
amazing pieces. So it's like you've got these pieces that, yeah, these hit you, this is the shit. Like, when you see it. And then you see
yeah.
something that looks like low effort and maybe the person doesn't feel inspired. It doesn't have that. I don't know. I think the really great art has this, you get a feeling when you see it. You get a feeling. Even stuff like I don't like, for example, like I'm not a big abstract guy, but you pointed out those big abstracts, those three on that wall, and those they were good, and generally I wouldn't be
They were
attracted.
designed well. The colors were interesting. The
Right.
movement was interesting. It was fun to look at.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was. That's it can be as simple as that. It
Yeah.
doesn't. Is it fun to look at?
Yeah, right, right.
And that's usually where it gets to me is that, do I enjoy looking at this? And if I don't enjoy looking at it, I want to sit down and figure out what is it that I don't like. Why can't? And then I just go through all these things in my mind about like what they made, what it represents, how it's done, and it just starts failing on multiple levels.
Yeah, yeah. When you're
And it
trying,
would be pretty good if it was done by like a junior high student or
right.
something. But I don't have all the context. I just have
Yeah,
my context of my own
yeah,
experience, and maybe it has something to do with who I am as a person or as an artist, and my own sensibilities and judgments about it that may not have any relevance into what's created. It might be what's important about it is who made it, but that person isn't standing there to
right.
All I see is the
Right.
expression that's being put
It's
out.
true. Sometimes the context can be as simple as something like that. That's why art's so weird, though. It's
This was
so
made by a blind person. Like, oh, it makes complete sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not a good sign when you're trying to find things to like about a painting when
Yeah.
you're sitting there racking your brain. Like this is in a the big LA art show, so it must have some validity. But
Well, that's like when people online are like, I spent 180 hours and I was bent over backwards, hanging from the ceiling doing this,
yeah,
and it's not a photograph, I promise. And they go on with all these technical things about why it was so difficult, why it's like, and usually that's because they have to do something to make up for the lack of substance.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a
they're
whole
focusing on the technical technique
right.
and the labor instead of it's the experience of being with the art.
I mean, that's like the standard for me, and that's like a personal thing. Because, like I said, that Jerry Saltz guy, he will show stuff on his Instagram that to me is just like is lame. I just think he just
Yeah,
had one the
I'm
other
not a big
day, and
fan of that guy. I'm not.
it's just like it just does not do it for me. It's
I
like
remember I ran in, I started seeing him when I was on Twitter with NFT stuff, and he'd always have some loudmouth opinion.
yeah,
Who the fuck is this guy? What are you
yeah.
doing?
I know. He's a failed artist. He was trying to be an artist at first.
What? I would have never guessed.
Shocker. But like he'll show stuff and it's just like I can't, I don't get it. But to me it's my personal thing is like there has to what I guess what I'm drawn to is like there has to be technique and there has to be some good idea. Even a simple idea and just the way something is posed, it's like it's there has to be like a feeling and technique for
Yeah.
me.
Well, especially when you're looking at something online, I don't dog too much, like, because
Yeah, true.
most of the time they aren't meant to be experienced on a phone or on a screen.
And I remember you said that when you went to some museum.
Keith Haring.
Oh yeah, and you were saying how amazing they were, so big, and it really makes a
I seen
difference.
it on books. I was like, yeah, what the fuck, doodles, like whatever.
Yeah,
And then I
right.
went and saw his exhibit in person, and I had a whole different experience because the size and scale of those pieces
Mhm.
and just the experience of being in front of them was interesting. It was like, this is
Well,
something. And
that's
he's talking about, he's expressing himself like it's coming from a point of view.
right. Yeah,
The complexity of the image making wasn't, whether you like that or not, but the in-person experience. So like when we're going to the art show, they have the bandwidth of experience to present, and it might as well just been on a phone. It's
right. It's funny though that because the paintings I'm thinking of that he was talking about the other day in his Instagram were giant paintings too. They were really big, so it's like you can't really. I guess you're not giving it a fair shot if you're not standing there in front of it looking at it.
If you go to New York and you go stand in front of Monet's water lilies,
Mm-hmm.
they're like 10 feet tall and they're like 25 feet wide.
Wow. Yeah.
And the texture is mesmerizing of the surface. It's just beautiful. You can't get that looking at it in a book.
Yeah.
You have to go stand in front of it in person.
And especially not on a phone.
Yeah. You can't get it on a phone or a screen. And that goes with not just art, it goes with our entire lives. We're all screaming at our phones why won't somebody do something? And like, well, you're somebody. Well, not me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
You gotta be there in person.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good maxim for life. You got to show up and be there in person.
Show up in person and pay in cash.
I wish I would have listened to both of those things.
You have to be able to do it in public live.
Yeah. That's kind of
you can't do it live in public, then what what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're doing a trick and behind closed doors, and like anything that's presented online, there's all kinds of ways to hide what you're doing and hide what's going on, how it's done.
Yeah.
But like with the break down to the portraits, like I do portrait demonstrations in a crowded room at random in front of people. It's a
Yeah.
demonstration of what I'm doing. They may not always be the best paintings, but
But you're
you
there
could
doing
take what
it.
you're doing and you could do it. You've been to tattoo conventions. You do it in public live in front of people. You can show people how you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't like we're doing a reveal and turning around, or some sort of like process painting where you're carefully editing and doing it in the right lighting and the camera angles and all.
Right.
Like everything you see online
It's
is
bullshit.
complete and utter bullshit unless it can be done in public live.
Yeah. Yeah. Same goes for music too. It's like you
Yep.
performing music. It's like you can now be kind of a bad musician, and quantize everything and cut and paste all of your sections to where they line up perfectly. But if you can't do it live, then
Yep.
just like auto-tune. It's the auto-tune syndrome.
Yeah. Well, maybe most of the people don't care.
I know, that's the bummer.
Maybe there'll be a renaissance period where people will want real shit.
That's what I keep hoping for.
It'll be right after we retire. All of a sudden.
Right after we die.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about that actually, that, what we do is so archaic and not in line with the current reality we live in. It's really like this weird old school thing that is not popular. It's not a popular thing to be a painter. It's not even a popular thing to collect art, really. But at the art show, the LA art show, that's like, I was thinking all those people came to see real art in person, and it's like that was a lot of people that went through there. So there's like, it's like the population's big enough in the world that there are enough people to sustain artists.
It'd be interesting to see what the average person who went to the art show thought of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
we're talking from a an artist point of view.
Yeah,
I don't know what the point of view of people that go to the art show every year as patrons think about that show this year.
Right.
I don't know how they quantify it.
Yeah.
But for me, it felt off this year. There was a few good pieces. It was much smaller, and I'm glad it wasn't any bigger unless it had better art.
Yeah. Yeah. There were some stinkers for sure, man.
Well, we're being kind of rough on it. It's like, it's just, there's a lot of amateurish stuff there.
I felt like I enjoyed it. It was partially because we were hanging out and that was fun. I enjoyed it because the Copro booth was so good, and I really thought the Arcadia Gallery booth was so good. And there were, between the Copro booth and the Arcadia booth and a few pieces here and there throughout the show, I felt like I'm glad I went, because I got enough from the, even though there was maybe less really great artwork in the style I enjoy, I felt like there was enough to where it really, I left inspired from the paintings that I did really like.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I felt like, man, I want to get back and get to work on my stuff. I got work to do.
Yeah.
I want to get back to, that's it. Did make me feel that, regardless of like the quality of most of the work I saw there. Just when I was like, man, I want to get my shit going. And
yep, I know. You got to get. I see. I always. It seems like your work should be there in the LA Art Show.
That's the other thing I thought. I was looking around. I was like, man, maybe I should just get a booth here next year.
Get a booth or put a piece in a Copro.
I wouldn't want to. If I was going to do it, I would want to have a complete representation of what I'm doing there. But like, none of the galleries I work with have booths here. Distinction Gallery did one time, and she hasn't done it since, even though she made money there.
It's a lot of work. I can imagine.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is like,
doing it yourself would be a big
I've done
project.
I've done it before, and it's a lot of work. But I mean, it's local. Maybe it'd be worth taking a swing at it.
It's super local for you. I mean, you're close.
Yeah, but it's it's not just a lot of work on the show. It's just prep for the show, getting everything. I know what's entailed in it.
Yeah, yeah.
But hey, maybe I could get on German in Venice video.
It's true.
Maybe I get like 2 likes and one comment.
He's got like almost 500,000 subscribers now.
Yeah.
I've been watching that guy since the pandemic when he was just starting.
Like I said, I remember seeing him out there when I sold on the boardwalk before there was any YouTube.
Right.
He just riding around on a stupid bike with big balloon tires. And sit at a bar on the boardwalk and drink. Well, I think he did. Maybe. I'm not gonna commit to that.
He's like a non-drinker according to his channel.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe in the past he was. But...
Might be confusing. I've seen him riding up and down on the boardwalk, and I seem to remember him being at cafes and stuff there on the boardwalk.
Yeah.
There's cafes there too.
I bet you have a lot of mutual friends from back then too. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I talk too much shit. I'm gonna get sued one of these days.
I know I got a friend of mine who I talk about often on the show that I won't mention who it is, but he doesn't want to come on because he knows he's gonna talk. He said there's no way he won't talk shit, so he won't.
Who would he talk shit about?
A lot of people in the film industry.
You should just say, "Don't worry, I only get 185 views a week."
Hey, come on, we're better than that. My best performing videos got over 4,000 views.
No, I'm just kidding. I was referencing my own views. I was extrapolating it.
Yeah, my personal channel, that's another story. That thing, I cannot gain any traction on that. I mean, it's grown a little bit, but man, I post those. I put the time lapses for my Patreon first, and then a few months later, I'll release them publicly, make them public on YouTube, and they get like 150 views, and then they just stop. It's like they're good paintings and good. You got to make it all short form, like you were saying, where you got to.
Well, for YouTube, you want to have longer form videos, like it'd be you talking over.
Yeah, I should do it. If I did a voiceover, that's probably a good idea. Just being like describing what I'm doing, but that would be painful. But actually,
I've had a YouTube channel for a long time, and I used to get views on my time lapses, and then now it's like it's hard to get any views on there. So what I focus on YouTube is just I do interview style stuff at gallery shows that I'm doing.
Yeah, those are good. How do those do?
They get not a whole lot of views, but I take those and I make those into short form video clips for voiceover clips for social media, and those do well. But mostly what I'm focusing on YouTube is just informative stuff. So people who stumble across my artwork somewhere, they're going to do a search. They're going to find it either on YouTube or, I'm going to have it embedded on my website. So it'll just be for people who are really trying to find out more information about me or about my art.
Yeah.
So I'm not really going for huge amounts of views. I'm just going for the people who are going to be looking for me to find it.
Yeah. That's I'm making like $20 to $30 a month on my Dark Art Society channel from ads.
That'll pay for Zello.
So it just feels this algorithm is so wrong. If what we were doing happened to be what the algorithm liked, we'd probably be millionaires.
Well, you would have to focus what you're doing on making it work. You almost have to have a full-time job.
Yeah. But I mean, people that have these successful podcasts and stuff now got in like maybe 10 years ago or a little bit less than that, when it was open and the algorithm worked differently. And it's like, they got lucky. They got in at the right time. And cause I feel like the art videos and the painting time lapse videos and stuff, and the ones you post where you're talking about your paintings, those are really good videos. And I feel like they're not getting pushed out in front of people.
Well,
and if they were, they would get viewed.
It's really niche, so it's not for everybody. It's for people who would be
right. But there's still more.
People who search it for me will find it.
Yeah, but there's still more.
Even when I was doing those live streams,
people out there.
When I was doing all those live streams, they were only getting like 185 views, like I was saying,
Yeah.
But I would go to shows, I would get people ask me all the time about them. It's like so the people who were watching them were
invested. Yeah.
true followers and fans. You don't need a huge,
Yeah.
you don't need a million viewers. Like I've had videos on TikTok get like several 100,000 views.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean anything. Like likes and comments and just like there's shrugs of the shoulder. Like it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Not unless you can monetize it in some way.
Yeah, and then you're doing things for the benefit of the social media platform, and
I know.
I don't want a job. I've been unemployed since 1999, and I plan to keep it that way.
Yeah, but you work your ass off. Although you do take Fridays off.
I work my ass off for the benefit of me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes all the difference. I got to do a talking head video today so I could sell these little paintings. Last times I did those talking head videos, they sold right away, but
yeah,
I posted them, get hardly any views.
Yeah, you found a way to do it, which is an appeal to emotion. You're just funny.
And I am angry. It's like I haven't done one in a long time, and I do have.
Here's the hook. Well, here I am again. Or some stupid shit like that. Like, God damn. You just staring blankly into the camera. And then hold up a sign. It's like, fuck my life.
It's so weird because we grew up during a time when quality was important with whatever you were doing. Excellence is important. And for these videos to catch on, they don't have to be good at all. They just have to be a certain way. The ones
that you did that work, they were well done.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not like that is fancy editing or anything. It's just my head and then zooming in. And
this is what makes it work. It's you standing in front of your artwork. So they're connecting to you as a person, and then they feel connected to your artwork. And that's the whole point.
I suppose maybe. Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing these videos of me in the gallery, because I'm already there doing these things. And then I just record it. And then I chop it up into a video.
Yeah.
And then it's just like when I was selling on the festival. So I was in front of it. I was talking or standing right behind it. They're connecting to you as a person. So they see you, they connect to you, and then they get a laugh, and then they're invited into the, it's like vampires. You have to invite them in.
Yeah.
Like what we do in the shadows. You ever see that show?
Yeah. That show's great. It's a great show. Yeah, I suppose. Whatever. It's the reality we live in.
It's like I should probably get off. I gotta.
Yeah. No, we're at the end.
Do some work.
I guess Christopher's not coming at this point.
Well, maybe next year.
Yeah, next year. Well, one of these days we'll have to do a 3-person one. Well, anyway,
you should put his picture on the on the thing that and just a
X out his face.
No, just like you should make it just a picture of him on there. No,
that'd be funny. No, I'll probably put that one of the three of us though at the art show.
Yeah, put there, and just so that he could make it to the. But yeah, he's probably got something better to do.
Probably it wouldn't be hard.
He made the right choice.
Well, everybody check out Gabe's socials and Gabe's. Is your website up yet? Because you've been working hard on this.
I'm still.
New website.
It's close. Yeah, it's close to being ready.
Well, maybe when you when it's done, and
I've been working on this. I've been having this website worked on since like 1993 now. It's been. I was like, I'm gonna have this ready by the mid-January, and it's still like, it's almost there.
Well, when you do have it finished, maybe you could come on again. We just have a bullshit session and promote your website because it is really cool. I've seen. I like the way you have it set up. So.
All right.
Well, thanks for coming on, and you just have to say goodbye to everybody. Remember.
Goodbye, everybody. Remember.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Goodbye, everybody.